YouTube friends, welcome to today's video. This was live recorded on the 25th of July. We're going to be talking about Goblin Slayer. Was it a mistake? And we're just gonna do it, yep. If you don't know, Goblin Slayer is an anime that's generally praised. I think it has a fairly good score on Anime List. Let me check. Anime List Goblin Slayer. 7.4 out of 10. Not bad. Decent. They also have a movie and they're coming out with a season 2, I'm pretty sure. Goblin Slayer is a show about, it's basically like a D&D setting, right? Where you have a group of heroes, the main character being the Goblin Slayer, but he also has his friends. There's the priestess, I think. There's the dwarf, I'm not sure what he does. There's the elven ranger. I think there's like a lizard man shaman or something as well. Is there a dwarf? Maybe there's no dwarf. I don't remember. But they're going around doing quests and mostly slaying goblins. That's what they do. One of the cool things is that none of the characters are named. They just refer to each other by their race, title, class, profession, anything like that, or just like normal conversation. The name doesn't really come up. And I hadn't noticed this until pretty much near the end, where I'm like, how is this person called again? Wait, their name was never said. None of them have names. We don't know. There's the extra mystery of what does Goblin Slayer look like underneath his helmet, because he never takes it off. And it's just some nice goblin slaying action. It's nice to see a true fantasy setting, no isekai, and it's just some innocent fantasy fun. Dungeons and Dragons. They're doing quests for the kingdom, solving mysteries, fighting goblins, doing tactics. Sometimes there's a cool fight scene, sometimes they do campfire talks, character development. They have a nice chemistry going on. It's nice. It's just nice. So, I don't actually think I've made an anime review out of this one yet. If I did, I think I'd have to rewatch it because it's been a while. But I would probably recommend it, I think. I would probably say yes to it. That's my elbow jerk reaction, I think. So go watch it, Weeby. Maybe. However, that's not why we're here. We're here to talk about the Rephian in the room. That's a Monster Hunter reference. And that is the opening scene of Goblin Slayer. The opening scene of Goblin Slayer caused quite the uproar and controversy among quite a few people. I think it's died down over time. I think people quickly came to realize that it's just a honestly fine, good show. And that the opening scene didn't define the show. That's not what it was about per se. It was just setting the scene, if you will. But nevertheless, the opening was there. And we're gonna talk about it. Hi, Pinecone. I like calling you that. How have you been? Hope you had a wonderful weekend. And here's to a good week to come. Senketsu, same for you. Welcome, welcome. Happy relaxations to you. Let's comf our minds out. Let's be so comfy that like we won't know what to do with it. It's like a rave, but the opposite. Dance, hype. I really want to sing, but I know I shouldn't, because my voice, my voice is hoarse. That. Ha. Nice, it's working. Learning. What have you been learning? I've been vibing so much today. I've been working a lot, but throughout the working, I put up some lo-fi music and I vibe so much with lo-fi music. I can just put it on all day and just be happy and satisfied and content. Me is good. Very good. Yes, always. Always at least 110%, which is why I love to share it with you all. I want to share some of my happiness and I want to talk about controversial topics. Apparently. How did this happen? I don't know. Because I was looking for like something that starts with the letter M and then I thought Meta and then Meta Monday and then what should Meta Monday be about? It should be about crazy topics. There we are. That's the story of Meta Mondays. I saw a seagull today that was completely white. It didn't have like grey wings or anything. I wonder if that's like just young seagulls. I don't know. ちょっと待って。Safe. Thanks, Weeby. That is truly the origin story. It rivals Batman's if you ask me. Exams! Good job. Good luck. Gambatte. You can do it. I know you can. Huh? Fan, thank you for following. フォローしてくれてありがとう. You know what happens when you follow while I'm live? One reason why you should or shouldn't is because you get eaten. Oishi. Delicious. I wonder if I can. Of course I can. What am I talking about? Let me write this down right away. There. Good luck, Pinecone. You got this. Okay. Goblin Slayer, what's the scene? Oh, this is gonna be so much editing. The starting scene of Goblin Slayer shows a female adventurer. Her party has been defeated. Oh no. And they are defeated like properly, thoroughly. I'm pretty sure they are murdered, which, you know, in a medieval fantasy setting, that is something that can happen. Not all adventures and stories end well. Some heroes or would-be heroes fail. They never make it out of the adventuring ranks and they die an early death against low-level monsters like goblins. They die. She's the only one left. She does not get killed outright. She gets the R word. The R word. I don't even know if I'm allowed to say it on Twitch. That's how bad it is. And it is quite visual. Obviously, it's an anime, so they don't show like any details or close-ups. The hard R, yeah. But it is very obvious what's going on. You can see the clothes being ripped off, and there's like just a group of goblins, and they're gonna do their thing. And you can hear the screams, and you know, it's pretty awful. I don't actually remember what happens afterwards, if she gets killed or if she ends up escaping or being let go. I think she gets let go. I think she survives at the end, and then she goes to get help at the village, which then introduces the Goblin Slayer. I think that's how it goes. But yeah, that does happen, and it's fairly visual as far as anime go. And so, obviously, a good amount of people said, "Oi, what's up? What's up for that? You know, what are you doing? Showing those gruesome acts, so vile, so visual." So, should Goblin Slayer have done that? Should Goblin Slayer have been cancelled? Or was it totally okay? I wonder what you guys think about it. What's your opinion? In fact, let me make a poll. And then I'll give you my opinion too. Click, 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 click. I wonder if there's a better way of making polls. Because right now, it's a lot of clicking. Click, 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 click. New poll. Should that Goblin Slayer scene have been deleted? I'll keep it simple. I'll let the poll running for 10 minutes or so. The basement lads, yeah, but they also have like other basement duties to attend to. Like sometimes they have lives, you know? Sometimes they have to do family duties or work or studying. So they can't always do it. Come on. Maybe I could have worded it better. Let's say if you think they should have done something different, then you also vote no. If you only vote yes if you think that it's like totally fine as it is now. Which I'm not even gonna vote because I don't remember. It's been too long. But I will tell you my opinion. So far, look at the divide. This is why it's controversial. See, I think something is controversial only if there is a high amount of opposition and a high amount that like defends it too, so that both sides have something to argue about. Because if something is like very obviously bad or very obviously good, there's not going to be discussion because everyone just agrees, and then it's not controversial, you know? Samaka. Did I say that? If so, that's how. So, what do I think about it? Well, first, I'll say my initial knee-jerk reaction. And then I'll go a bit more in depth and think about it. And that's when I first saw it, it was like, oh wow, they really went there, huh? And then I continued watching and just kind of let things unfold and see where it goes. And after the first episode, I did briefly talk about it. I was like, oh wow, they actually did that. You don't see that very often, huh? And I watched the first 3 episodes and it seemed pretty good, so I continued watching it and I finished the first season and it was nice. And I didn't think too much more about it, to be honest. Because for me, I'm not too squeamish, I think, when it comes to stuff like that. As long as it makes sense for the story. As long as the characters make sense. As long as there is perhaps some kind of purpose to it. Things like that. And I'd say in this case that was true. Because first of all, when it comes to like quality and sound design, that's not even really relevant. But it is generally fine in this show. Does it make sense? Well, in that world where goblins exist and they live pretty terrible lives and they are pretty terrible creatures, probably it makes sense that they would do the terrible things that they do. They do lots of other terrible things too. They poison the water supply, they steal, they kidnap, they murder, they do all sorts of bad things. And did it have a purpose? I think so. I think it sets the scene. It shows just how evil the goblins are. That they are not afraid to do absolutely heinous things. Which, yeah, that's also a thing. It shows that they are intelligent to a sense. It shows what we're dealing with. It shows that goblins are not just laughing stock. It shows that they are dangerous and that they have to be treated with care, I suppose. Like, don't just recklessly assume you're gonna be fine because they're just goblins. Because they are smart and they are numerous and they are tricky and they will lie and cheat and they will do whatever they have to win. And then they'll do terrible things. Caution, that's a good one. Caution, thank you. It also makes it so that when it's clarified that the goblins are this evil, it makes us feel as the viewer less bad in future episodes when the Goblin Slayer goes and murders them by the hundreds. When he stabs them and burns them and explodes them. If they don't set up the goblins as evil, then some people might think, well, the goblins, they are just being discriminated against, they are being pushed back into these little holes. Of course, they're gonna be a bit bitter and vengeful, and they don't know any better. And now they're getting killed for it too. Some people might think that, and you would maybe think about the goblin women and the goblin children, which is a thing, by the way. But and that would make it a lot more difficult, I think, to see all the slaughter. But given that they are shown to be so evil, it makes it easier to stomach all the slaughter that is to follow, and it focuses more on the party, a very typical good versus evil kind of dynamic, and just what quest is it gonna be today? How is he gonna fight the goblins today? How will they get out of this tricky situation? Things like that. Of course, maybe not all goblins are evil, but that is not the message that this show wants you to think about. This show just wants you to focus on the heroes, their journey, and the fighting and the tactics and the character moments and developments. It wants you to follow the story of a typical, somewhat chaotic adventuring group without having to worry too much about morals, because, well, they're obviously evil, because why else would they do such a thing, you know? And of course you could think more into it, because just because there was these 10 goblins that did a very bad thing, and just because there's 100 goblins that are doing this other bad thing, that doesn't mean that all goblins are evil and bad. But that's not the point of the show. That's really not what where they're going with it. So I think that's all right to set a precedence. So I think it did have a purpose. I am personally not very squeamish, so I was okay with it. It also was only once. I think somewhere deeper in the show it happens one more time that one of the females is something is about to happen badly to them. But they were saved just in time. So it was okay. Nothing bad ended up happening. So purpose check. It is logical for the goblins to do what they do as well. And it wasn't too outrageous or too often. This is so very confusing to me. So, Mr. Goblin Man, do you go around Twitch looking for streamers that are talking about goblins or things, and then when you found them, you go into the stream to talk about either things Or goblins? Is that a thing? Is that something that happens? What is the relationship between sinks and goblins? Any stream while you've hit jackpot today, apparently. Because it just so happens we were talking about goblins, not sinks though. Sorry. You like goblin VTubers? I think I know one of those. Although, I'm not one. Sorry, I don't even like the color green. Even though my tie is kind of green. But it's a uniform, I didn't get to choose. I think I have a goblin on Discord somewhere. I think I have a goblin somewhere in one of these 50 extensions, but I don't know how it works. You need to ask someone that knows about extensions. The Franker Z and Better TTV. I think I have a goblin somewhere. Yeah, my nail paint is also green, I know. It's just an aesthetic choice. It fits with the outfit, that's all. It's like grue, you know? It's like greenish blue. It's kind of like in between. Wow, look at that. Should the Goblin Slayer scene be deleted or adjusted? We voted no. Interesting. I think I agree. And I'll tell you why. Don't forget to hydrate. That scene, the one at the start. With the big R. Ah. So, we have a couple of reasons why it was there. Then the question becomes, why did it have to be the big R? Like, couldn't we have used something else? For example, they could have just murdered everyone. That would have left the same message, the same purpose, less or more. Though for some reason that I don't understand, it seems like in these kinds of media and anime, murder, killing, even in like live action movies, those things don't seem to be seen as too bad. Like in a lot of action movies, people are falling in droves, you know, they're getting shot down and karate down and they're exploding out of buildings. Even Batman has like so much collateral damage and he's meant to be a superhero that doesn't kill, but it happens all the time anyway. He's like, I'm not gonna kill you, but I'm just gonna leave you on this exploding boat. Because it's so common, why? I have never understood. It seems to me that killing is more commonly accepted, even though it is a terrible thing. And so, by choosing to go for the R word, they have made the goblins look even more evil. Somehow. Although they probably could have gone with something else still. I'm struggling to think of something though. Like, what else is really bad? Tying them down and forcing them to watch Tokyo Ghoul? Fetching their tax reforms or something? Banning pineapple on pizza? I don't know. There is maybe something else they could have done that also would have left the same message of these goblins are heinous, they are the worst. I guess torture, yes, torture would have left the same message too. So why not torture? Why did they go for the R word? Because, like, yes, they needed a motive, true, but they could have done it with murder. They could have done it with torture. They probably could have done it with something else. So why the R word? To which I wonder, why not the R word? Obviously, it's bad. Of course. It's just like all the other things. Just like murder. What? Draggy, is that a thing? It's not in D&D. Oh, is that a thing in Goblin Slayer? Oh wow, that's messed up. That's messed up, yo. How does that even work? Okay, that's kind of weird. I'm going to ignore that because that kind of that kind of complicates things. Oh Jesus. Okay, that's kind of messed up. That's really messed up. And again, the youngling type, yeah, pretty much. So they could have done it in lots of ways. They chose to go with the R word. Apparently, there is a justification for it, kind of. Although I don't really buy that. Because they could have easily said that there are just goblin women. Like, that's kind of weird, but okay. You know, we'll take it. For me, I don't think it matters if it is the R word or torture or murder or anything like that. All of those are equally as bad. And to me, just about equally set the scene. This one just so happened to be extremely visual and vivid, but visually they could do it with anything else. The shock factor, I think you can do that with anything else as well, if you go hard enough, if you go extreme enough. And yes, there is the commonality of it. Currently, in this day and age, the big R words, obviously it's like very frowned upon, it's pretty rare, and it's even more rare in like these kinds of media for some reason. I don't know why, but it is. And because of that, because it's so rare, when you do see it, it is shocking. It's the same reason why when I watched ReZero in episode 2, it has a pretty gruesome torture scene in it, very nasty stuff. And normally they don't go that vivid, they don't go that extreme. So I was shocked. And I think this is the same reason and the same result for sure. Yo, Velkity. Mira, thank you so much for both following and prime subbing. That's awesome. Hondo arigato. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. Welcome to the Nibble Club. Please consider yourself thoroughly licked. I actually licked the microphone there. And I hope you'll be comfy. I hope you'll be enjoying your stay. I hope you had a nice weekend, and here's to a good week ahead of you. Let's see. Depending on the situation, murder cannot be as bad. Do you think so? I don't think so. Like, I think the R word, torture, murder, all of those are just heinous crimes. One could argue like, oh, if it's a bad evil guy, then like they deserve what's coming to them. But that was definitely not the case here. And even then, there is still like questionable morals. Like, even if someone's like very evil, like, do they deserve things, you know? And one might argue that with the R word, like, because it's drawn out, it can be like traumatizing, whereas with the murdering, depending on how it happens, it can go very fast and it's over quickly, and so they allegedly maybe don't have to suffer as much. But then again, like, you could also have like a very slow going, you know, or you could have a torture scene. And then I think in that case, it's equal, if not worse, you know? There's been an increase of the type of media. Yeah, probably. I think as time goes on, media evolves and people need to do new stuff. People will do this kind of stuff and it'll be a shock. Wait. Let me throw something at myself. Yeah. It's not working? I mean, it is, but it's not. Nani. Let me bung myself. Well, okay, it works. We're good. Thank you for the little rubber ducky. I appreciate it. Okay, so media evolves, and over time, people will be like, "Oh, this is a shocking thing. No one's done this before. Let's do it." So they do it, and then other producers will do the same, and then there's a couple more shocking events, and then at some point it becomes no longer a shock because so many people are doing it, and then it becomes somewhat normalized, and suddenly you've got action movies in which they are shooting and karate kicking, and people are dying in droves all the time. You've got disaster movies as well, in which, the whole world explodes usually. So as time goes on, it becomes more and more normalized, and maybe one day seeing the art stuff on television will no longer be as rare and shocking as it is now. Maybe, I have no idea. It's so hard to imagine that. It's so hard to visualize that. Because like when I think about it, I feel like people will always be hesitant about it. But not about the red room. And I don't know why. I don't understand why. Let's see. Big R is sometimes fetishized. Is it? I forgot in to which line that was a response. Having the scene would have helped. Oops, my bad. That's what I get for stream delay and falling behind on chat. I'm sorry. I guess in like certain media you could fetishize it, I guess. But in this case, that was definitely not the case. I wonder if that has anything to do with the shock factor. There was a Paisengetsu. I will click allow. Draki, that kind of stuff, it's actually illegal in Prawn nowadays. Like, you can't even type it. I imagine some of it still slips through the cracks, but in the last year or so, they've gotten really strict about that. Like, even just like role playing out, like it's fully consensual. Both parties agree, and it's just like a play, a theater. But even that, I think, is heavily frowned upon nowadays on Pornhub. Which, that to me is a bit weird. I think if you have two consenting adults and they want to roleplay like, vampires or Charmander and Oddish or whatever the fruit they want to do in their own time, why the fruit not? Two consenting adults. I guess the problem is like, how do you know it's fully consenting? It gets a bit of a gray area. And then you might ask like, what about the people that don't want to see it? Well, that's why you have categories, of course. If that's what you want to look for, you go there. If you don't want to see it, you don't click there. And then you get the question about what if there's like evil people out there, like, and these evil people have, I mean, I say evil people, but like people with certain like craves or urges, and like, and well, maybe we can say evil. Like I don't know, and they want to watch it to get like ideas on how to do it for real. But then we get into the territory of like video games cause violence, which, whew, whew. See, controversial. Why Charmander and Oddish? I'm sure that there's people that are into Pokemon. I don't know. Haven't you seen that Oddish meme? Basically like that. Maybe you don't think it should be normalized. Even murder is wrong. Normalized. Maybe. But like, which movie does not have murders in it, you know? Like pretty much any movie that has a slight bit of like action in it or thrillers in it. You know, it has Redrum in it. And then there's like all the mystery shows, the detective shows that are based entirely around Redrum. All the superhero movies. Yeah, the good guy always wins. Yes, there's a bad guy. But usually people still die in those, whether it's Collateral or something. Well, even the latest Thor movie, spoiler alert, people die. It's a thing, you know? And a story like that, you almost cannot tell it realistically without having some death in it. And is that a bad thing? I don't know. Maybe I don't think so. I think some stories, in order to tell a good story, in order to tell it well and realistically, depending on the subject matter, you might need to include bad things like Redrum. I don't think that's a bad thing. I think it's realistic and filled with drama and interesting and exciting. And you want to see the bad guy getting caught at the end. You want the tragic tale to be resolved in some way. And I think that's fine. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Personally, I am not very squeamish, so I don't mind reading about that kind of stuff. There are some things I'm scared about. For example, for some reason, things that really scare me is like chemical stuff, like anything to do with chemistry. It just scares me. And so I choose to generally not read that or watch material with that in it. And that's okay, right? That's my choice to skip that and like read other content that I do enjoy. And obviously, just because I watch, Fast and Furious doesn't mean I'm gonna go racing. Just because I watched an Among Us playthrough doesn't mean I'm gonna stab some crewmates or crawl through the vents, you know? I think it's the same with other media I consume, be it books or anime or movies. And so I think if... Yeah, I think so, Senkets, and that's why it scares me so much, because it's like, it could actually be real, you know? For the same reason, I kind of don't like certain like disaster movies. Like some of them I'm kind of okay with. Some of them I'm like, no. I generally don't like space stuff either for some reason. And then there's like, I think I used to be afraid of like ghost movies and stuff, but I've gotten better with that. Basically, I'm just a scaredy cat. When it comes to like horror and stuff, I'm usually quite scared. But when it comes to like action movies, thrillers to an extent, detective movies, that's usually fine. Especially if it's like a fun action movie, like, well, Fast and the Furious, or Thor to an extent, or Pirates of the Caribbean, things like that. Where like, yeah, there's action and stuff, but like, it's not really serious. It's like, there's obviously a lot of ridiculous stuff going on, and it's a bit fantasy and stuff. You don't see me chasing people with a modified and heavily armed heavy bowgun. That's true, because IRL, I use a greatsword. Hi man, nice to see you. I mean, yeah, if Boruto, triggers you or scares you, that's okay. Everyone likes their own stuff. It scares me too, honestly. The way that simply yet existing is kind of like a blemish on. Oh Jesus. We'll do the Boruto is bad controversial topic another time. Is it even controversial though? So if you do get like squeamish about Red Room, then you're gonna have a problem, I think, because in a lot of media, you'll find it in a lot of media, even just suggesting of it. For example, you play Elden Ring, right? First of all, you're doing a lot of red rumming in Elden Ring. You're smacking everything that moves. Some of them are undead, so like maybe that makes it better, I guess. But those people still used to live at some point. Some of them are just innocent animals. What about the giants? What about all the people that you find that suggest of Redrum? Like, yeah, they were already Redrummed long ago, but here they are, laying in front of you. Like, doesn't that, ring some bells? So, like, if you're squeamish for Redrum, your media is gonna be quite limited. Maybe it's kind of like being a vegan. Like, you can do it, but it's gonna be a bit challenging. You have to do some research. You have to be on your toes, It's like trying to avoid spoilers on YouTube. Very hard. So obviously there's the argument of like, well, if you don't like it, don't watch it. Is that okay? I don't know. It's hard. Did they have to pick the R word? No. I don't think so. I think they could have done something else. They could have chosen another path and be of a similar effectiveness, the same or similar effectiveness. But they went with the R word. And I'm okay with it because it is a story. It isn't real. And for the people that do mind, it's tough. Because, like, honestly, Goblin Slayer is a good show. And are you going to tell everyone that doesn't like the R word, like, hey, just don't watch Goblin Slayer? Because it's a good show. And it's not about the R word. And, like, you'd be missing out big time. Just skip the first, 10 minutes, I guess. For first 5 minutes. What's the rating? I'll look it up. I don't know where to look it up, though. Anime list. Rating. 17 plus. Violence and profanity. Is that good? Obviously, everything that has something like that should be adequately rated. So you know what you're getting into. 17 plus are violence and profanity. Maybe that's good. Yeah, I agree, Valketti. If you look past the first 5 minutes, whether you're okay with it or not. If you're okay with it, you just watch it, you go through the motion. If you're not okay with it, skip it. Just ignore it and watch the rest of the show, and you're gonna have a good time. And it's good that it's marked as such so you know what you're getting into. Hi, Kenta. And I like to think that for the majority of people, it is okay. That's a good idea, Senketsu. Yeah, a little warning, like at the start of the episode, this episode contains a glimpse of this. Viewer caution this advice or whatever. Like they do for like epilepsy things, like some games that may trigger epilepsy, they always like warn you at the start. So like if you don't have it, you just keep going. If you do have it, then you know to be a bit cautious. And like take precautions or like do whatever it is you need to do. It was unexpected. Kind of like, I think ReZero was released as an anime initially, wasn't it? And that was a mistake because it's a hentai. And if it is not considered a hentai, then I think the definition of hentai needs to change. But ReZero? Not ReZero, what am I saying? Redo of a healer. I'm so sorry. Have I been saying it wrong all this time? Redo of a healer. I think it was released as an anime first. It shouldn't have been. It should have been released as a hentai. And if it is not classified as a hentai, then it should be, and they should redo the definition of a hentai. Yes, that's it. If you go into Die Hard, you know what you're gonna get. Yeah, exactly. So like, you go into it, you're gonna expect some crazy over-the-top action. People are gonna explode all over the place, and that's okay. You don't really pay much mind to it. You're just there for the cool action, the crazy main character that's presumably quite buff and handsome. You know, fire and things. Yeah. I guess that's maybe fair. Like, when you get into Goblin Slayer, you think, okay, Dungeons and Dragons, fantasy, adventure, fighting goblins. You don't immediately think about the R word. I suppose that's fair. Maybe they were onto something. Flipping what? What do you mean? Don't do it. It's out of context. I corrected myself. For its sake. It's true, I'm running out of TikTok clips, but let's not go this desperate. This is making my CPU overclock, you guys. Like, yeah, you don't usually expect it. You know, I'm trying to think of like, what's it called? Mishoko Tensei? In which the main character, he is like a 30-year-old, 40-year-old. Well, he likes kids, okay? He's one of those people. What do you call that again? Pedophile? He's a pedophile. And he dies and he gets reincarnated into an isekai world as a cute little boy with great promise, magical powers and a loving family and stuff. And he grows up and he does a lot of perverted stuff, right? And oh, jeez, what? Okay, we need a code word. Okay. Mishoku protagonists. It's hard to talk about stuff, yo. The big bean. I love how Automod is like just slamming down on that too. And like, I didn't like it because I think a lot of times he broke character. And I don't like it when characters like don't obey their own laws. And I think it was gratuitous. Like it kept popping up without just reason, without a cause, which made it feel very gratuitous and fetishized. And I think when you want to like fetishize something, it should probably be put into like a special category. Like either it should be hentai or it should be very clearly stated like, look, this show has a lot of like this fetish in it. So if you want to watch it, go ahead. If that's not your thing, you might not like this because there is a lot of gratuitous fan service in there. And that's what I felt in Mishoko Tensei, and I did not like that. But in Goblin Slayer, I didn't mind because it did have a purpose. And it wasn't gratuitous, it was there once and then it went away. And so that's why I was kind of fine with it. I guess the simple solution would just be to mark everything, right? So you have an anime and you give it a rating. And on top of the rating, you also say, Mishoko Tensei, it has this fetish in it. Goblin Slayer, first episode, viewer discretion is advised because there is a short amount of, this kind of stuff. And then hopefully that keeps everyone happy. Hopefully that allows everyone to kind of pick and choose what they want. Of course, it's a shame in both cases because, like when it comes to Mishoko Tensei, I enjoyed the overarching story, world building, even the characters to some extent. I grew to like some of them. But because of the continuous fan service, I was really put off by it. And so I can't help but think, like, was that really necessary? Was there any room for this in this show? Like, why did they have to include this? But at the end of the day, there might be people that do like that kind of stuff. And it is, I suppose, the author's right, their freedom of speech to write what they want to write. And so the Goblin Slayer author decided to include that into their story. Maybe they didn't even know it was going to be made into an anime, I don't even know how Goblin Slayer started. Was it a manga? Was it a visual novel? Was it a short story or something? Was it a short novel? A light novel? If that's the case, he definitely, or she, they have the right to write their world how they want to write it. And if they want a somewhat realistic world with realistic gruesome topics, then they can do that, right? And then it could have been a D&D game, maybe, yeah. And then later down the line, it got turned into an anime. Light novel, there you go, yeah. In a light novel, I think it's much easier to tackle these kind of tackle those kinds of stories. And so it is kind of their right to write how they want to write it. And if some people are turned off by that, then that's just the way it is, I guess. And if too many people are turned off by it, like because it's over the top, gratuitous, it's far too much, it's done in a bad way, there's no reason for it, and so on and so forth, then there will be enough flashback, people won't like it, it won't sell very much, and that kind of stuff won't be popular. And in this case, Goblin Slayer, they did overcome it because I guess there was a purpose, it wasn't gratuitous. Most people were able to either skip past it or ignore it, or they didn't mind. And there was not enough people that would like drop the entire show just for that. And so they watched it all the way through and it was successful. People liked it. And so that show made it through. And so it's kind of like natural selection, but for like anime. So I don't think it has to be deleted. Definitely not. Yes, obviously it's terrible, but it is just a thing that happens, you know? I don't think it has to be adjusted. For the same reason. And then natural anime selection will do its job. And if it's good, people will watch it and like it and vote it high. And if it's bad, people won't watch it and they will vote it low. And it will fade into oblivion, I think. But that's just my opinion. I'm just one little tiny AI on the big wide web that's surprisingly blue. I guess the internet really is an ocean. At the end of the day, we like what we like, and that's okay. There is so much choice, so much anime, so much beautiful content for us all to enjoy and talk about and laugh about. And it is kind of fun to talk about the things we didn't like as well, right? At the end of the day, we're gonna have a good time talking about anime one way or another. How's that for a YouTube video, huh? Yo, if you're on YouTube and you're watching this, this happened like many months ago. And there's a lot of lovely people in chat that are contributing. You could be doing it too. So what are you waiting for? Come over to Twitch. Izumi _ Airi, I think. Come join the fun. Okay, bye. Yeah. YouTube video. Yo, Josh. We have another weep. Weep detected. Rivalry started. Welcome and thank you so much for the follow. Forashite arigato. Please consider yourself adequately nommed and growled. Thanks, Weeby. Okay, sorry, I got behind a little bit. CQ, okay, thank you for checking that. It follows the same concept of Attack on Titan, where the first episode is a wild, chaotic incident, followed by the rest. True, and in Attack on Titan, it was the destruction of the world, as they saw it, as they knew it. And the mom died, and the father was missing, and the whole town got obliterated by giant monsters. Pretty traumatizing, but for some reason, no one talked about that, did they? I wonder why. I wonder why. These spoilers. Watch out. I'll make your mom proud, Kenta. We should add it to the quote list, Senketsu, but I forgot how to do it. So I cannot. I'll try. / quote. Add natural anime collection. Hopefully this is right. Nope. Wrong. Maybe it's add quotes. There's a whole format going on that probably Lexi made. got this. 25, 7. Oh god. Yes! I did it! Yatta! What else? D&D. Red flag DM. I guess so. Which I wonder why I agree with you, Draggy. I agree with you. But I wonder why I agree with you. Because when I play D&D, when I host D&D, there are certain topics that I generally don't touch. Certain topics that I know that people are more likely to be squeamish about. And so usually before a game starts, I'll say, okay, this is the setting, the scene. This is roughly the things that you can expect. Here are some topics that are maybe a bit scary that might come up. Is there anything that you really don't want to see in a D&D campaign? Let me know. And then I'll adjust it, or I'll be sure to fade to black or something. Some things I fade to black regardless, especially things like torture scenes. Whether it's the party doing the torturing or the NPCs doing the torturing. I usually vaguely describe it. I say okay, this is happening, let's do some rolls, and we'll fade to black. Because we don't need to know the details, right? And I guess when I'm playing in D&D, I get into it with the knowledge that, okay, we're gonna be an adventuring party, and depending on the adventure that's being run, I roughly have an idea of we're gonna be out in the forest and we're gonna do a little quest to go find a missing owlbear. Or maybe we're on the hills, we're gonna go goblin hunting. Maybe we're in a castle, we're doing some political intrigue. I roughly know what I'm getting into. And depending on the genre, I will or will not expect certain things. If it's a murder mystery, obviously, I expect some red rum. I expect someone to get bamboozled, and then we have to find out who done it. And that's okay. If it's like a LOL heroic campaign, I expect us to be heroes, and we're gonna be pretty overpowered. And every now and again, there's gonna be a challenge, but generally, we're always gonna be winning. We're gonna be really cool while doing it, and there's not gonna be too much crazy stuff other than general, vaguely, oh, these group of NPCs, they're in trouble. These villagers were, there was a village and they were all killed by a dragon. So go find the dragon and bring it to justice. But we don't know the NPCs. Or we just hear about it vaguely. There is no visual cues or anything like that. Sometimes it's a bit more of a serious campaign that does go in depth into all of these things, right? You will get close to the villagers, you will meet them personally, you will roleplay with them. You go on an adventure, you come back, psych, the village has been attacked by a necromancer, and now they're all dead. Worse, they're undead, and now you have to fight your former friends. Tragic. Truly tragic. But usually you get in a group with 5, 6, 7 like-minded people. You know what to expect, and it's okay. It's a cool story. You try to make the best of it. Usually in D&D you win. Sometimes you lose. Sometimes you play a horror game or a survival game, or even just a normal adventure or a pseudo-heroic adventure. And because of bad decisions or because of the dice or a lot of reasons, maybe someone has to leave the campaign, you end up wiping, party wipe. People die. Very sad. Very cool though. You'll feel sad inside. You'll feel it stinging in your chest because you've been playing with this character for a long time and you've grown to care for them. You've grown to care for the characters of your fellows, so much so that you almost consider them as intimate friends. And now they're gone. But then a few hours later, the next day, you're laughing about it and you're like, wow, that was an amazing campaign. I had so much fun. I cannot wait until we can play again with completely different characters, a different story. Maybe we're gonna be the villains this time, guys. Let's play a chaotic evil campaign. You know? And I guess there are certain topics that you don't really expect. I wonder which ones though, because torture definitely happens in D&D, even if it's black screened. Romance also happens, same reason. Red room happens all the time. The R word, it like never happens. I wonder why. I don't know why. Like I'm really trying to think. In all my years playing and running D&D, it has never happened. Did the music become fitting? It'll mess itself up again soon enough, don't worry. It'll go weird again. I have no control over the music. It's an entity of its own. Trying to see if I missed anything in the chat. It's hard. I'm sorry if I missed something, you guys. So, I guess if I were a player, I would appreciate a pre-warning for that kind of stuff. It depends. Like, there's almost never a reason for that. You know? Yeah, it's weird. I've not got an answer. This just in. Streamer dumb. Streamer don't know. It never ended well. Yeah. See, I think there's almost never a reason for it. That's relevant. Oh, 07. How do I refer to you? Eyes? Something with numbers, something with the letter D. Is it a pointless story element most of the time? In case of Goblin Slayer, it was not pointless. Could it have been achieved in other ways? Yes, probably. Though the R word was the most effective one, probably. And it did have a purpose. If it's D&D though, actual D&D, I think it's different in D&D and Goblin Slayer, because in Goblin Slayer, it was a light novel, a story written by a person. And in a story you can make your own setting, your own world building. Maybe you write it for yourself, maybe you write it for your family, maybe you don't know what happens to the story. And it just so happens it was made into an anime. But I think the target audience matters. In case of Dungeons and Dragons, you're running a game specifically for 3 to 7 people. And in that case, it might be you may want to accomplish different things. I think when you're in a somewhat intimate environment like that, with your friends or whatever, or sometimes with random people in like a game shop, especially with random people. When it's with random people, you don't know who likes what. And you can't simply say, like, hey, this game might have, violence or whatever. Because the people, like, what are they going to do? Do they have to leave the table then, I guess? I think when it comes to game stores, you want to make your games, like, somewhat family friendly. You want them to be as open as possible, so anyone can join, regardless of what they like or dislike. So it's a somewhat uniform experience. And then, even in the house games, you probably want to be somewhat careful. Because obviously not everyone will appreciate it. And then, yeah, does it have a purpose? It's weird. The Arling has oversized viruses. Creatures and other species to reproduce. It's true. I didn't actually know that. Ice. It is really messed up. It makes me shudder, honestly. But I guess it's true. Dragio, no! Oh, Jesus. Also, Ice07, what you say? I agree with you, but again, I don't know why. And that's what I find very interesting. Most of the time, it is not a good story element in D&D. It very rarely achieves what a regular, more palatable violence can also achieve. I think that's true. Like, if you're in a D&D setting and you want your villain to be really bad, instead of having them do the R word, you can have them, like, kick a dog or drop the can of beer on the ground or slam their hand on the table and say a mean word to the party or the bartender, or raise some people from the graveyard into undead minions. Terrible, by the way, very traumatizing. For some reason, more acceptable. Well, have them, slaughter a village. And they'll be known as the bad guy. And you didn't need the R word. But why? Why are all of these things accepted? Why can you make an army of undead out of your loved ones? Why is that okay? But not the R word. I don't know. I have no idea. I'm not advocating that it should be, by the way. I am just wondering from, like, a humanitarian perspective why it is the way that it is, I guess. And also, I'm dumb. I don't know answers to things. I didn't do philosophy or whatever. It could be in the backstory of a character. That's true. I would have no problem with that generally. Although I think... I wonder what I would do. I don't think I've ever had that before. So I'm not actually sure what I would do. Because again, like, I know not everyone likes it. And even, like, imagine you're in a group of strangers and, like, you don't like that kind of stuff. And then this other person, this other character, they randomly say, like, oh yeah, this is my backstory. And now you have to kind of deal with it. Like, you don't want to be a part of that. Chatto Matteo. So that's still kind of weird. It's like, I wonder, would I ask them like, hey, could you like maybe remove that? Or... Or would I ask like the other players like, hey, there is one player who has this in their backstory, like something along these lines in their backstory. Are we all okay with that? Or would we just never mention it? I don't know. Our word is just humiliation. It could be humiliation, it could be torture, it could be lifelong trauma. Trauma. Yeah, probably. Obviously, when you play D&D, you don't want to like listen to vivid descriptions of anything. You just want to like play the game, tell the story, see your characters evolve and play together. You want to roll dice and move it on. In fact, I don't think in D&D you want anything to drag on for too long. Even the cool stuff. Because while you're doing the cool stuff, you want to go on to the next cool stuff, you know? Well, Ice, you definitely called yourself something unique. But now I must know, why that name? Why did you go onto your keyboard when you were creating a Twitch account and you typed D007? Because that's like a cool spy person, I guess. And then, well, we have a few letters left, I guess. Has to be more than 4. AIC. Why? What's the story? I want to know. Chiritai. Weeby. Doggo has been silenced. Draggy, for a moment I read your comment as that's what session 2 is for. That would have been funny. We're 2 sessions in. I'm like, by the way, guys. Yeah, of course, of course. Session 0 is good. I actually made a mistake in a D&D game once. Of similar proportions. Not quite as bad, but still pretty bad. And I made a mistake. Humans have a strange relationship with sexuality. It's true. Apparently, I don't know why it's true, but it seems to be true. Also, I'm bi. Like, even myself, I'm very open-minded when it comes to sexual things. But even so, I find myself very hesitant or even unable to talk about it openly. And I don't know why. I mean, on Twitch is because I don't know what is TOS and what's not. But even outside of Twitch, I guess it is societal because I don't know who might or might not agree with me. I don't know who I might or might not accidentally offend with like my kinks or whatever. And I guess the R word is the same thing. For some reason. It's weird though, right? Humans are hesitant when it comes to like smexy things. But when it comes to like violence, it's like, yeah, this is fine, no problem, go. Shoot him, torture him. Fun times were had. In fact, I've had Dungeons and Dragons groups that would go quite in depth in their torturing scenes. And like, I would be like, hey guys, we don't have to do this. We can just roll some dice. We can just say it happened, fade to black, and that's it. And the players were like, no, 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 we're having fun. Cut off their nails. Like, holy fruit. Why? A good kind of mistake? No. Also, I'm bi. I like to be not necessarily the devil's advocate, but I'm like, okay, this is what I feel. This is my initial reaction. I like it, I dislike it. I try not to diss it right away. I try not to glorify it right away. I try to think, okay, why do I like it or dislike it? And what about the other side? What about the people that have a different opinion than me? Why might they have a different opinion than me? What could be the reasons, you know? And like in this case, like I understand that the R word is very rare in media. And I agree with it, but even just because I agree with it, I still want to think about it. I find it immensely interesting how humans work and think. And I want to think about things like, why is it not accepted while other things that are arguably equally or more bad are acceptable? Because it doesn't make logical sense, does it? But I guess that's why there's humans, you know? And humans are more emotional creatures, I suppose. I guess that's why as an AI I'm still so far behind y'all. I have so many shortcomings. Because I cannot possibly comprehend all these little nuances that you have. Okay. I'll tell you about the Dungeons and Dragons mistake that I made, which is kind of relevant to the discussion. Which for some reason is still I did my YouTube outro and I just kind of continued rambling. Oh my god. Mitsu just showed me some things. The music video is almost ready. I'm so excited to show it. I am so fruiting excited. Stretchy. Oh, I don't have... I ran out of water. Hold on, let me run and get water real fast, okay? Like, I'm not even gonna go on the pause screen. I'll be like 20 seconds. Oh. Pew! Instant transmission back. Did you enjoy the chair stream, y'all? I hope you liked it. Chair-kun has been working very hard for his debut. But now, we're gonna continue our collab. Chair-kun, Izumi. And I'm gonna tell you about my big mistake in Dungeons and Dragons. Sorry, Frost, wrong stream. No chair tuber here anymore. A lot of you are different people. Can you imagine if there are some more people like me? That'd be weird, yo. Because I'm pretty weird, champ. Pretty weird, champ. Which music will you be? Because I don't make music. I just sing a little over existing songs. Oh no. Ah. Thank you for troll. What is this? Weird is better than normal. That's very reassuring. I like that, Sengetsu. I like being a little weird because then you can do cool stuff. Oh, nice, Frost. I look forward to it. Haha, I see what you did there. Because we haven't made that joke like 50 times already. Okay, so one time I was hosting Dungeons and Dragons in front of a group of, like, they weren't friends, but they were pretty close to being friends. They were a group of regulars that I had been playing with for a very long time. So they were pretty close to being called friends, but not quite because I did not know them on an intimate level. We had a lot of fun. Every week we hung out and we laughed and we chatted and we talked about random stuff and we memed. This is great music. No, it's not. But yeah, I guess I didn't know everything about them quite yet. And that's okay. We had a very nice relationship. I liked it that way. But it did mean that I wasn't sure about, like, their limits on certain things. And I think when you play D&D with people for so long, your limitations and the things that hold you back, they kind of loosen over time because you get closer to them, you open up more, and as you open up more, you show more of who you truly are, or you're less afraid of letting the story develop naturally. And so you were in a dungeon, and in the dungeon there was a vampire lady who was very tricksy and seductive and experimental. That was just the kind of person she was. Hi Soki, nice to see you. Welcome. Irashai. Bite me, mommy. And like, should I have written her in that way? Maybe not, but I did. I didn't think anything bad of it. Because in D&D you have lots of different characters. It was a pretty realistic setting where any character could be anything. And it just so happened that this vampire lady was a bit tricksy and seductive. And it might not have mattered. Maybe the group would have come in and they would just like fight immediately. And it would just be a fight and like that's it. But that didn't happen because they ended up talking to each other. And she knew she was outmatched. And when it would come to a fight, she would probably get in trouble. So she tried to get on their good sides. And at the same time, she was still following her own ideals, her own goals of trying new things. And two of the characters that the players were playing were particularly handsome. Like that was a part of their character. It was in their biography. They were handsome characters. And so she flirted with them with the intent of, having a one-night stand. And in my mind, from a NPC character perspective, that was okay. Because that's just how she was, and that's the things that she wanted to accomplish. Even though I didn't, I have nothing to do with this. I'm just playing the character as the character would be. But I didn't consider how the players might feel. Because maybe the players don't want to play with what is essentially a dungeon crawl. Maybe they don't want to do relationship stuff, even if it's a one-night stand, or perhaps especially if it's a one-night stand, because not everyone agrees with the concept of a one-night stand, right? Something I'll talk about on the second stream, by the way. And so I didn't quite consider that. And so I did get some backlash after the session, or even during the session. And that's not all. I made an even bigger mistake, actually, because so this was how the character was, the vampire lady, tricksy and seductive. But actually, I personally, I don't like flirting with people in a D&D setting. Even role-playing. I didn't like the idea of having to play as the seductive vampire mummy in this really sultry manner that's not really me. Basically I would have to roleplay a dummy mummy, right? While in a D&D game. And I don't like playing a dummy mummy at the best of times. It's not my thing. But in a D&D game especially, it's just not me. I don't really like it. Which is weird, I guess, because there's a lot of things I roleplay, in Dungeons & Dragons I roleplay as all sorts of silly things. But that one I didn't really want to do, at least. Maybe I could have done it if it was just that on its own, but specifically flirting with other characters, it's essentially me flirting to them, even though I'm doing it on behalf of a character to another character that they're representing, but it's still me to them, And that's a bit weird to me. So I kind of glossed over it. I kind of said something after the discussion, you spend some more time chatting, and she attempts to chat you guys up. It wasn't this trash, I swear, it wasn't this bad. I basically glossed over it. I just kind of described how the vampire lady was chatting them up a bit, and then I hinted at, and then who knows what happens in the night. Did a one-night stand happen? Did it not happen? I don't know. Frankly, I don't want to know. I didn't want to get into it. But the players were ho, ho, ho. No. Let's not do that. And that's very fair. They wanted to know for certain whether or not something happened. Which means we had to know the results of the flirting. Which means I had to pay a little bit more attention to the flirting part. I didn't have to roleplay it out completely. But at the very least, I had to describe it. And we had to roll some dice to see the results. And then we could safely say, okay, this evening a one-night stand occurs between the vampire lady and these two characters. Roughly, there is something like this that happens. Like this is roughly the mood and stuff, and then we fade to black. It was definitely my mistake. I probably could have handled it better. I'm not sure how, but I probably could have. Maybe I shouldn't have let it go to that point. Maybe I could have just said, okay, the vampire lady is dummy mommy and like roleplay it as such. But don't go into the flirty bits. Like I could have just skipped that entirely, to be honest. And maybe I just need to learn to be a bit more open-minded, because the players told me afterwards that like, you know, look, if you had done the flirting stuff, like slowly lead up to it, then we probably would have been okay with it. So maybe I should have just done it, you know, more properly, I suppose. Maybe. And that was probably one of the more awkward moments I had in D&D, which was totally on me. I've had plenty of other moments that are like a bit awkward or a bit strange. I've had like DPKs and weird jump moments, but none of them were, I don't think, related to that. I think. Weeby, would you believe me if I told you I'm actually very bad at flirting? Like really bad? It's like I'm a good friend and a terrible girlfriend. And I don't know my own flirting boundaries, I think. I'm good at teasing, I suppose so. I do enjoy doing that. Yeah, Weeby, I guess that's the thing as well, because like our group doesn't usually deal with it. Our group was like a group that was very like in the moment, we see what happens. Everything is quite realistic. We just kind of go anywhere. We don't really have any like obvious limits. And so we'd never gotten to a point where we had to deal with it. But then like suddenly we did deal with it, and then I dealt with it poorly because I hadn't done it before. Parasocial? I wonder about that. Maybe just like me wanting to make sure that there is no parasocialness, which, by the way, ended up happening. Whoops. Best pickup line? I don't do pickup lines. Because I can't drive a truck. But I hope that joke works. Because a pickup is like a truck, isn't it? I think it's a truck. Cool. Thank you, Kai-chan. I probably deserve that. Cool spy person. Excellent. I know that one. And then I slept on ice, but I was wondering. I was like, ice. You can kind of like spell it as like ice, because English is weird. I was thinking of Eins, like Einsal Gone from Overlord. Thank you, Kenta. Ugh. As an ice white, like the blue ice white dragon? Is that it? What about the D? Is that like part of the code name? D07? No. D double. No, that's what the D stands for double. I don't know. I'm out of ideas. Oh, thank you. It's a rich day today. Oh, yeah, can't I think yeah, that makes sense. I want to make sure that like even though it's the character that's doing the moves, I want to make sure that it doesn't seem like I'm making the moves. Like it's the character, but some people might misunderstand. And by the way, that's exactly what ended up happening some months later. So yeah, that's awkward. I have a lot of recurring examples of people getting the wrong idea, where I just wanted to be good friends and hang out and chat and game, but then they wanted more and I couldn't do that. And then they got really sad. And that makes me also sad. Because I just want to hang out and chat and game, you know? Why not? Actually, there is this YouTuber I watch. I think her name is Jade, and she's a female YouTuber. She does a lot of Pokemon content, a lot of story time content. She does a lot of good stuff, honestly. I like it. Yeah, Jade and Animations. She's nice. I really like her art, and I like her voice, and I like her storytelling style, and she just seems like a cool person and all that stuff. Not too long ago, she made a video explaining that like she is what I forgot what it's called, but like she doesn't very much feel like sexual attraction and stuff. But she also had the same problem where like people would get the wrong idea. Like she would get close to them to play games and hang out and have fun and just have a good time, and they're having so much fun. And then suddenly the other party fancies her and demands an answer, which she cannot give because, well, she is asexual. And now the friendship is ruined through no fault of her own. That sucks. It sucks so much. And I'm not even asexual. But it's happened so many times that I had like a wonderful friendship and we're just having so much fun. But then the other side is like, hey, now I fancy you and you have to be with me, or otherwise we can't hang out anymore. And I'm like, oh, really? Can we like not oh yeah, aromantic too. That's true. And I'm very sexual and I'm very romantic, but it still happens. And so you might wonder, well, if you are romantic and sexual, why not just like respond to the advances of the friends? But well, that's obviously not. That's, you know, so sometimes you fall for someone, sometimes you have a crush, sometimes you don't. Sometimes you just want to be friends, and sometimes you can like crush all you want, but you know it's never gonna happen because of for whatever reasons, like even if it's just like distance or whatever. And then you just kind of have to deal with that, you know? You'll find someone like that you can be with, right? Aroma. Aromas turn me on so much. Especially the spicy ones. Right? Yeah, like if it comes to me, I have no problem with people having a crush on me. Like that's fine. But if I cannot reciprocate, then hopefully you understand my decision and my feelings as well. And hopefully, like, you will not resent me for it and we can still hang out and stuff. Maybe. Because it's happened one time too, where actually I had a crush on someone else. We were playing a lot together, World of Warcraft actually. We were doing a lot of World of Warcraft together. We did arenas together. And we talked a lot, and I kind of fancied the guy because like he was kind of cool and he was kind of handsome. But I also knew like, look, this is like a crush. Like this is not like a lasting, deep-rooted thing or anything. It's just like I like him in this moment. I wouldn't mind having some fun with him. But he lives very far away. So like, and like he's got a very important job, so like it's not gonna happen. And so I just never mentioned it. And we just continued staying friends and just playing together, and that's it. Oh God, baby, please do cancel me. That's one of my kinks. I very much enjoy being cancelled. I hear it's a very good thing nowadays for viewership. I think the algorithm really likes it if you're cancelled. Because like if you're cancelled, then people make videos about you, and those videos get clicks, and then people will Google your name, and then when you inevitably make a new channel or you get uncancelled finally, like all these people will come in, and then the algorithm goes and on you go. So like, please cancel me. Long distance is not for everyone. Yeah, indeed. I have plenty of experience with long distance. It's not great. I would only do it if it's absolutely necessary. And so, like, yeah, I was not gonna. Still views. Yeah, click the top right. Do it. Plus, you get a free holiday too. So, at TLDR, moral of the story: Jane Animations is really cool. Go watch her. Izumi out.